Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Development Committee meeting for Monday, November 13th. We have a quorum. I'm calling the meeting to order. The first item of business that we have is approval of the regular meeting minutes of October 9th, corrected, and October 23rd of 2017. Move approval. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. This is going to be a pretty quick meeting. I'm going to, but we do have a number of people here to speak, and so I would like to have them come in and speak. I'm just going to say, if you signed up on citizen comment for planning and development for the Albion project, we are not hearing that at this meeting tonight. That's at the full council meeting. It's not here at the committee meeting. So I know that a number of people have signed up for the full the full council meeting. So if you've signed up for Albion, I'm going to skip your name and urge you to sign up for the full city council meeting. So the first item that we have is, just a moment, please. Robert Taylor for item P1. Would you like to speak? Yes. Okay, all right. Do you want to talk first?
I'll do it next.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Test, does that work? Okay.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Good. So I'm Robert Taylor, the owner of the, I guess, the subject property, the first item for action tonight, 1026 Garnett. And to my right is my good friend Cleo Guerrero, who's the property manager. Cleo has been the property manager for a little over 4.5 years.
4.5 years.
Yeah. Cleo's been a resident of Evanston for 12 years. Reared 2 daughters here. She teaches in the school system, K through 12. Longtime contributing member of the community. I lived in Evanston for, 15 years. Moved here initially to attend Kellogg, where I graduated, and then I served on the Plan Commission, was also the co-president of the Evanston Property Owners Association, the local group of apartment building owners. So the main reason I asked to speak is to provide some measure of rebuttal, you might say, to a letter that I believe was in the read-ahead packets provided to all members adjudicating this from my neighbors across the street, who basically, I think they closed with the assertion that my application for the vacation rental license would, in effect, turn my little 4-flat into a hotel, which I would respectfully take issue with. By way of background, when I moved, I lived back in Evanston about 6 to 8 weeks per year, but in the remainder of the year, I live in Lake Tahoe, where I own and manage a 32-year-old vacation rental management company. So I'm an unusually experienced vacation rental property manager. And I guess what I would say to that is between that and my probably higher than average understanding of the residential rental market in Evanston in general, from serving on the Plan Commission and also my work in the EPOA, is that Evanston, in particular near the university, has an unusually seasonal rental market that's only become more exaggerated in recent, I'd say, 5 to 10 years, as the university has, as I'm sure you all are aware, has dramatically expanded their supply of on-campus housing. They've gone on quite a little building boom on campus. It used to be that only the freshmen were required to live on campus. Now that all the sophomores, and with the approval by this chamber of some permits by the university, they're now building large dormitories with openly stated plans to make all the juniors as well. So 3 of the 4 years the students are going to be staying on campus. That combined with a large supply and demand economics approval by some large multifamily projects. I saw some of you probably saw this in today's Northwestern NU Daily. They announced front page They highlighted this project for Halim taking over the King homes. Bottom line, Crane Magazine has reported, it says 6 big multifamily projects totaling more than 1,100 units have been approved in downtown Evanston, which of course affects the university housing market. All of that adds up to tough times, increasingly tough times for small apartment building owners and managers such as ourselves. Boy, it just really gets tough trying to get these units rented, even as we cope with the seemingly relentlessly raising property taxes and the water and sewer rates and so forth. So what the option for us to do a vacation rental, I have no intentions to do it full-time on all of our units, absolutely not. But it gives us an option that I think is important for the city and could be profitable for the city in terms of filling the public coffer when we charge transient occupancy taxes, which should be happening. I think that's fair and appropriate. We do that out in Lake Tahoe, and that's standard practice. And I haven't done a survey, but well over 90% of the communities around the United States that do permit these vacation rentals to operate, they should be charging their transient residents taxes, which should be paid to the city or in the counties in which they operate. And from what I can tell, I haven't done a systematic survey, I think there's a bigger issue here, that there's a large number of vacation rentals currently operating in Evanston unlicensed.
Mm-hmm.
And,
we're aware of that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a pretty serious problem. I asked Cleo just before this meeting to check. She took 15 minutes to step up here.
I took the liberty of researching, and I found on Airbnb there are about 28 homes available this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, we know.
Yeah, and so none of them, of course, are paying taxes on any of that. So for us, particularly in the summer months, when there's just an excess supply of units relative to the demand, it gives us an option. And that coincides, especially in the latter half of the summer, when parents travel, as we all know, to Evanston with their typically a high school incoming high school senior to shop Northwestern. Mm-hmm. And I would to juxtapose your typical vacation rental guest with a Northwestern student, even graduate students. The vast majority are undergrads, but and I'm speaking from 10 and a half years of managing over 60 vacation rentals in Lake Tahoe. Your typical vacation rental guests are much older, by a factor of 20 plus years, than your typical Northwestern student, and with that comes increased maturity and responsibility. These problems of people concerned that it's going to turn their neighborhood into a party neighborhood, I can assure you, at least my opinion, considered opinion, is ill-founded. In fact, I would welcome them 9 times out of 10 as being more responsible, better residents in the community than the students.
Okay, thank you very much.
So that's
I appreciate
subject to your questions. That's all we have, and appreciate
Okay.
your consideration.
First, I have, would you like to hear everyone else speak before
Yes.
you speak? Okay, all right, thank you very
Right,
much.
thank you,
If we have
appreciate
questions,
it.
we'll come back to you. Okay, Alderman Wilson, my plan was to go through everyone, okay? All right, next we have Joshua, is it Hubert? Yes. Then after that, Taya? I'm not sure whether, okay, all right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Joshua Huppert. I live at 2630 Crawford. I'm speaking about the second item, which is 2628 Grosse Pointe. And I just want to ask that you take a final vote this evening. I found out at 7:14 p.m. today out in the hallway that the applicant plans to ask to hold this over. But this is the 4th time I've been to meetings in this particular building about this issue, plus there were 2 in the neighborhood. And the plan when they first came was not ready to go, and it's still not ready to go. A lot of my neighbors are having a hard time getting here because they have small kids. And so I just hope that you'll finish it tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, Taya? And then after Taya, we have Becky Houston.
All right, good evening. My name is Taya Kinsey, and I'm a mother of 2 children, and I live in the 6th Ward at 3611 Hillside Road. I want to share with you my very strong but respectful opposition to the construction of the organic fast food restaurant on the corner of Grosse Pointe and Crawford. Specifically, what we want to focus on are the issues around safety. And that's safety for all those in consideration: children and adults in the neighborhood, community members who are often frequenting the area, and even potential patrons. We know that currently the street corner is already an area of concern for safety. The 3-street corner of Grosse Pointe, Crawford, and Central is a heavily trafficked crossing point, an area where traffic accidents already occur, a crossing area for children going to school, the rest of Evanston, and our Lovelace Park, and an area where cars often miss their turns at these corners. And those of us who live in the neighborhood can attest that drivers often turn in frustration, drive quickly down our neighborhoods at dangerously high speeds out of frustration to turn in driveways in the cul-de-sacs, causing near hits several times with neighborhood children. That is the current state of affairs prior to consideration. I've also witnessed numerous times pedestrian community members pulling a wagon or cart to obtain food at the Hillside Food Pantry, almost get hit by cars in a rush to get on their way at the corner of Crawford, Grosse Pointe, and Central. The concern is that a fast food restaurant open in this location would cause significant increase in traffic, and we know that people who are seeking fast food are also in a hurry, are known to multitask, eating and driving hurriedly to their next stop in the day's schedule, which, while we all do it on occasion, could actually be a deadly combination for a child who's crossing the street. A child crossing with a distracted and hurried driver who's also annoyed by the additionally heavy traffic turns quickly but not carefully to move their day along. Fast food restaurants have a rapid turnover of a period of minutes, whether that's through drive-through or through sitting down, and we know statistically that's at a minimum 100 to 150 drive-through orders in an hour. I leave you with one last question as I strongly urge you to consider no. How can we ensure our children and our community members' safety with this increased traffic to an already heavily congested area? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Becky Houston? And then after Becky is Carol Harrison.
I think there's some other neighbors coming up with me. Hi, my name's Becky Houston, and my husband and I and our 3 kids live on Park Place, which is the block just north of the intersection where Nix is proposing to build. And as neighbors of the intersection and community, we're strongly opposed to it coming to this location. Just as Taya said, there's 3 main reasons. The first one is safety. This intersection is already so congested and dangerous. We've seen multiple accidents. I've lived there for 10 years, and I've been a citizen for 41 years of Evanston. We see multiple accidents there. There was just one last week that shut down the intersection. My daughter last year started at Haven and is in 6th grade, and she takes the bus on that corner with about 20 to 30 other middle schoolers. And cars have narrowly missed her, but they don't stop before turning right. And also, it's a 2-lane street going north on Crawford, and right there it narrows down into 1 lane. So it's a mess. The intersection's already a mess. And adding Nix to this intersection will only cause more congestion and make it more dangerous. I've been in talks with Rajiv Dal,
Rajiv Dal. He's our traffic director.
Yeah, the traffic director for a few years about the intersection, way before Nix even was purchased the land. And he agreed that this was a very dangerous intersection. He's been great about helping us try to get signs that aren't really working, but we're trying to make it more safe. So we're very concerned with it coming. In addition to just the congestion at the intersection, it's going to congest our neighborhood, as Taya was saying. Taya lives in Hillside, which is cul-de-sacs. Our street is also a cul-de-sac on Park Place, and we have numerous cars coming to Sarkis that do U-turns on our block, pull into our driveways, and if Nix is there, it's just going to add to the congestion. The second reason is parking. This lot is only zoned right now for 4 parking spots, and there's a reason why. It's not intended for a fast food drive-through restaurant. We would welcome a small business that doesn't require a continuous flow of traffic at this corner. And even if Nix is able to get a legal agreement with CVS or whoever owns the lot for 6 spots. They're not on their property, and Sarkis doesn't have enough parking spots for their own customers. They're parking in our neighborhood on Saturdays, Sundays, days off of school in summer. Our block's filled with kids going to Sarkis. So their parking lot doesn't even reaches capacity with their own customers. I don't know how Nick's is going to add more customers to their parking lot. And then getting an agreement with the church for their employees to park, I think seems very dangerous for both between the church and Nick's, there's no crosswalk, there's no sidewalk, and their employees are going to be walking through people's front yards on a very busy street. So it doesn't seem to make sense. It seems dangerous. And then the last reason is that the values and integrity of our neighborhood. Adding a fast food drive-through to this location will only make this part of Evanston less safe. It's also going to make it less desirable to homeowners and decrease our property values. We all purchased our homes in a neighborhood that doesn't have a drive-through in its backyard. We want to live in the safe neighborhood. We love the safe neighborhood. We all decided to purchase here and raise our families here, and we want to keep it safe. And we understand that Evanston's hurting financially and taxes are continuing to rise. But are we so desperate that we're willing to grant the special use for a drive-through that will really do next to nothing for our taxes and clearly is unfit for the space? So the way I see it, there's only 2 outcomes if Nick's comes. One is that it succeeds and our neighborhood becomes a traffic nightmare and a serious safety hazard, or it fails and we just open the precedent to have another fast food restaurant come into our neighborhood. Either scenario is a black eye for this neighborhood. So we ask that you please deny Nick's their special permit use so we can keep our neighborhood as safe and welcoming as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, then our final speaker is Carol Harrison. Do we have Carol Harrison? Okay. All right, now I will, would you like to, all right, Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Thank you to the owner of the proposed vacation rental for coming out and offering such detailed feedback. We are aware there are Airbnbs, and I am of the opinion, Airbnb, I am of the opinion that we should start to do vacation rentals. But I've had quite a bit of correspondence from not just the direct neighbor across the street, but others in the neighborhood specific about this property. So I'm going to ask that we hold this so that I can give it more attention and we vote on it at a later date.
And I would second that hold.
Ask one question for information, though,
Yes, Alderman Wilson.
of the applicant.
Mr. Taylor, Alderman Wilson would like to ask you a question. Yes, if you could.
Thanks. I think I understood correctly, but in your comments, I had a little uncertainty. This is going to be year-round vacation rental, is that correct? Or are you going to be leasing for the school year and renting in the
latter.
The latter.
Yeah, I have no intentions of converting the whole building to year-round vacation rental.
Okay,
No,
so-
and I appreciate the question. I try to make clear it's to give us the option of filling the gaps in demand. Every summer, like most landlords who have rental housing near Northwestern, there's a significant drop in demand for the housing. And even if you have a one-year lease with a student, I would say maybe a third of the time, but maybe even half of the time, they just blow off their 12-month lease and they leave. And that summer month corresponds with, an influx of parents bringing their kids, typically high school seniors, shopping Northwestern. And that's what I see as our target market. I have no intentions of renting to, bachelors and bachelorette parties, that kind of nonsense. In fact, in my company in Lake Tahoe, we have explicit language in all of our agreements, which I would use as a model and would be happy to submit to the city as the unusually experienced vacation rental manager that I am, that explicitly prohibits that kind of partying and activity. So
Okay, that makes sense.
It just gives us a way to respond. I mean, I just learned recently this big project over where Kenny's Cleaners and the 7-Eleven is located with Philadelphia Sandwich. There's a big project going in there. I was not aware of any other concerns amongst the neighbors other than my neighbor across the street. So I'd be really interested in learning what that's about.
Okay.
My I love Evanston, and I've owned 10 buildings within a 9-iron of the subject property, all of which I've sold except this one. I formed a neighborhood association. We got the 2 speed bumps put in there to stop the cut-through traffic. We've been an active, responsible property owner in that neighborhood now for nearly 20 years. So even though I don't live there full-time currently, I'm still very actively involved in the community.
Okay.
Alderman Fisk, did you have a question?
I did. I have 2 quick questions for you. Have you met with your neighbors about this, the neighbors who are objecting?
I talked with her. She had an opportunity to bring it up with me, and she didn't. I'd be happy to contact Carol, and
I think it's always a good idea to talk to.
Yeah, I expected her to be here. I mean, we'd applied and we're on the agenda for the October hearing, and then for reasons that were unclear to me, we weren't heard that night, yet 2 other applications were approved for vacation rentals at the October meeting. We've gone through the procedure, sending all the notices, and then Cleo sent out the notices again for this meeting. So to have it held over again, are we talking about doing another hearing and having to notify the neighbors again, Alderman Simmons?
This would just be, would be heard at the next P&D meeting, which is
December.
when,
I assume December.
December 13th?
Yeah. So.
November
Yeah.
November 27th.
And nobody else has contacted me, so.
Well, I think at this point, it has been held at the committee.
I
and so
understand.
the next time it will be heard would be November 27th, 2 weeks from now.
November 27th, right after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And then, Madam Chair, I had one more question.
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That is, sir,
That's Monday.
do you write your leases for 12 months?
Yes. Well, we do. I can't say we do all of our leases. Like all of the landlords near the university, we try to set up our leases tied to the school year starting in September through August with standard sublet provisions. I wouldn't lie to you and say that we do all of our leases for 12 months. On occasions, I do, for example, 9-month leases. Kellogg has a 1-year 4-quarter program that will start leases in June.
Okay, okay. So that's what I guess what I'm getting at is for this particular building, do you write 9-month leases and 12-month leases, or how are your?
Yes,
okay,
and then we'll get occasional. It happens maybe 1 out of 10 times. We'll get a student that's just a troublemaker. He'll respond to an ad that says non-smokers only, sign a lease, and he's a smoker. And I kick him out. And I'll find myself in November, December with a vacancy, and then we'll do shorter than a 9 or 12-month lease starting in December to fill that vacancy. Yeah, we only rent to non-smokers.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out whether you're going to be advertising or offering these units on Airbnb at a time when they're actually under lease to a 12-month tenant.
No.
Okay.
No, that would not be our plan.
All right.
No.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay,
This
thank
matter
you.
has.
I'll contact you.
Please do.
Mike,
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
So P1 has been held. Next is P2. Alderman Sufferton?
Sure. On item P2, I'd like to move introduction and then respectfully request that my colleagues not support it.
Okay. Is there a second for introduction? All right. Would you, Alderman Wilson, did you want to say something?
Did you want to introduce it to council or not proceed past the committee?
I would like it not to exist anymore.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We can do that. All right. With no more lights,
Just
Alderman Wilson.
very quick. And Alderman Sufferton, thanks for some of your points before. And I've looked at the traffic plan here, and 2 comments. One's not specifically related to this particular application, but it is related to what the people were talking about. And that is, traffic and driving and distractions are a plague. I don't know if some people have noticed, but we've been doing some targeted enforcement, and the ease with which the police pull people over and see the violators it's embarrassing. So I just want to plead with everybody else to be really mindful and thoughtful when you're driving. It just, we talk about a lot of things, but if we can't drive around town safely, I mean, that puts people's lives in imminent danger every single day. So we can talk about, buildings and approvals and traffic and all we want, but if we're out in a dangerous vehicle, we have to really be mindful of how we're operating that vehicle. So with that commentary, I have looked at this traffic flow, and I am pretty uncomfortable with the situation. So I'm inclined to go along with what you're suggesting.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no.
No.
All right. The motion fails in the committee. It will not be moved on to the city council. All right, that concludes our agenda. So would someone like to make a motion?
Move adjournment.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned, and the council meeting will start at 5 minutes to 8.